In a world of increasing mental health challenges, psychology and faith can both provide tools for healing and wellness. This is the idea behind Journey on My Mind. Each episode, our panel of pastors and therapists sit down together to share their experiences and insights on the modern world's mental health issues: depression, loneliness, aging, addiction, and so much more. Join us now as we explore what it means to thrive at the complex intersection of spirit and psychology.
Welcome to A Journey on My Mind. We are here without one of our cohorts. She is probably seeing a client, is my guess.
Yeah, she is, and she also has better things to do than hang out with us.
Hang out with us, which is understandable.
Yeah.
And we are in part 3 of a psychologically healthy church. And we're going to give that a whirl here in a minute. But first, I want to know why you are so infatuated with Vans.
With Vans?
Yes, because you wear shirts with Vans on. You wear hats with Vans on.
I'm just trying to get a deal.
Oh.
I just want a Vans deal.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No. I don't know. I've just always worn Vans. Do
you wear Van shoes?
Yeah. Not today. I have on some Reeboks today.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, I have a lot of Vans shoes. I just got rid of a pair of Vans that were as old as my oldest son. 22.
Oh, and you got a little teary-eyed, about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
You know.
It's like sending a child off to college.
That's right.
Or something.
Except they are not coming home.
Never.
These ones, I hope
they're going to the great Vans.
In the sky.
In
the junkyard. In the junkyard.
That's right.
Yeah.
So were you a Vans guy back in the bleach era? That was like standard attire.
Vans. Yeah. Well, T-shirts and jeans were pretty much standard, but I always had Vans on. But so now that I have a jacked up spine, like I had a spinal fusion like 10 years ago, and so Vans are a little, they're not made for support necessarily. They're pretty flat, so I can only wear them for a little while these days.
I have the flattest feet ever.
Yeah.
It's like you could use it scientifically for like a level
you could
plane.
measure.
Nice.
Yeah. It's like if you took a board and just nailed it to the bottom of my legs.
Yeah.
It's just flat.
That's your feet.
No arch.
Yeah.
Huh.
Not good feet.
Does that make it bad for like
everything?
Everything.
Yeah.
Do your feet get tired fast?
All the time.
Does your back hurt when you walk too much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the things.
Yeah.
Wow. They're terrible feet.
I'm sorry.
Can
you get
hard being in your
replacements for
30s,
those?
isn't it, Dave?
Can you get new ones?
New feet?
Yeah.
I
Probably.
don't think they've worked out.
They don't
I don't know.
Foot
They do
transplant.
knee transplants.
Knees,
and
hips, they do it all.
Yeah, you'd think.
Take your heart
can
out
I
and
get
put
some
a
new
new one
feet?
in. Yeah.
My mom made me walk on my sides of my feet.
Really?
Some doctor told her
That
if
would
you
help?
walk like kind of like that, it'll squish your foot and make an arch.
Oh, yeah?
This is back in the 70s where it was
Okay.
like one step away from voodoo.
Like binding your feet. Like
Just-
the old-
It was just like in the 70s, like, let's drill a hole in the guy's head. And,
That'll help. That'll
Mess
help.
around with a needle up his nose and see if we can get him to act normal.
See if we can scramble some things in the right
So if
direction.
you think about how insane that is,
Yeah.
that you're like walking around your house on the sides of your,
Yeah.
in order to make yourself have an arch to your foot for your flat foot. I don't know.
Well, hey, at least they tried.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
it was
Gave
something.
it an effort. Gave it an effort. Yeah.
Best they could do at the time
Yeah.
with the technology and knowledge available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 20s were
I
rough.
wonder if I broke that. I wonder if I broke his feet and then they healed right.
Well,
So that would have been more painful, though.
oh, I have a toe.
You have? I have 10.
You have 10 of them.
I do.
I have one that I snapped skateboarding that I was in college and I'm like, it'll probably heal fine.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's all fused. It's my pinky toe. So if they want, like, I have no joint in it anymore. Like I broke it so bad, it like broke it off of my foot.
Oh no!
And
So
it's
it's
all
just kinda-
fused.
it's just
it
hanging
looks like
there.
a dew claw on a dog.
Oh,
Like
no.
it serves zero purpose
Yes.
anymore.
Oh,
So
man.
yeah,
I'm not sure they ever served a whole lot of
Balance.
purpose. Do you think so?
yeah, that's
Oh, yeah,
they're
yeah.
a big part of your balance.
Okay.
Speaking of weird breaks,
Yeah.
I went to Phoenix, Arizona this weekend, and I was with
On a jet airplane?
yeah,
Okay.
I did, and with a group. 8 years ago, we started this group in the same place.
Oh,
it
that's
was
cool.
the Phoenician, and what everyone remembers is that there was a water slide
Oh, no.
that one of the guys was sitting on the slide, like an old man,
Yeah, it was
and just
slouched.
on his butt, and
Yeah.
going and goes, this slide stinks. This is terrible. I'm like, that's not how you do it. I
Yeah.
grew up in Virginia Beach. I had a season pass every year to Wild Water Rapids. Or
There we go.
Here's
there
how
we
you
go.
do it. So you put the ball of your foot down and cross your feet, and then you arch your back so that it's only shoulder blades and one point of contact. It's like a luge. And so I get on there and I show him, and I am going like 80 miles an hour down this thing. And at the end, it's slosh.
Oh, no.
At the end, it throws me up in the air, and I land on the concrete side.
No.
And crack my rib.
No way,
and I
bro.
don't tell a soul. The whole weekend, I don't tell anybody until later. I'm like, just so you know, I cracked a rib on the weekend.
Did you go to the hospital when you were
because
there?
what I knew is, not having ever done it before, but you just hear this from other people.
Yeah, they're not going to
When
do
you
anything.
break your rib or crack your rib, they're going to be like,
that hurts.
You
that's
cracked
bad.
your rib.
Yeah, take it easy.
Sorry. You know?
We'll put a piece of tape on it.
Yeah.
I mean, not even that.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what am I going to do? So we didn't know each other. It was new. And I'm like, I don't want to make this weekend about me
and your broken
having
rib.
injured my rib.
Oh,
and
my
so
gosh.
the whole weekend I'm in agony.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that was
Sleeping is rough when you have a broken rib.
everything's wrong.
Breathing.
Yeah. Talking, breathing.
Yeah.
So did you do the slide this year?
No. But we went by it and we sort of gave.
And everybody, we all saluted.
There's where Dave broke his rib.
First time we met.
Yeah.
It was like thud.
It was, it was rough.
bro.
And no one saw, they were all up at the top. So they didn't see me do it. So no one was like, are you okay? I just hit.
So you didn't go into the pool at all at the bottom?
No, I did. I slopped into the pool. Like it just,
He
I went
plop and then
bam,
just
and
fell
then
in
kinda
like a
rolled
cartoon or
yeah.
something.
See, now that would have made it like
would've-
viral on
I know, man. I wish there was a
on
camera.
video.
Oh yeah, it's like the cop or the old lady that goes down the slide backwards and then it spins out and there's that cop video
I've
from
seen
the
where he
slide.
falls down
It
that
was like
slide.
that.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have. Yeah, I would have been well known for
That's
that.
funny.
That's amazing.
Sorry, Dave. That sounds painful.
8 years ago, I've gotten over it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Any scars? Any lingering scars? No.
From that?
Ribs healed
Emotional
up.
ones?
No.
Yeah.
No emotional
No.
scars?
Clean as a
Nothing?
whistle.
Okay.
Not after this week. He went back. He had to like face his fear
Yeah,
this weekend.
It was,
so he
it
went
was a
back
mastery
and-
task.
That's
Go
right.
back to the scene of the injury.
Yes.
Yep.
That's what
the
you do.
trauma.
Okay.
I think we've all learned valuable things.
Yeah.
this
Do
morning.
not
Yes.
friggin'
Do not.
beeline it at the Venetian
Yes.
down the slide.
The
Phoenician.
Oh, Phoenician.
Phoenician.
What did I say? Venetian.
Venetian.
Phoenician.
Venetians
That's
are
in Vegas.
Okay,
That's-
they're different. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. Shall we transition into
Moving
our
on.
topic?
Let's do it.
Let's move on. That's a rough transition. But psychologically healthy sliders. No, that's not it.
That was
psychologically healthy church.
Yeah.
Yes. And we've been talking about this a couple weeks. We had a big overview, and then we talked about a couple of the elements last week.
Right. So we're saying there are 4 parts of psychological health, which are cognitive, the thinking part, emotional, the relational, and the behavioral. We talked a lot about the thinking part and the emotional part last time.
Yeah.
We said we'd carry over the relational and the behavioral part.
Yeah.
I think the last thing we'll talk about is the behavioral part. That's the part that I think we just need to wrestle with.
Okay.
Because there's so much history that we have and other people had tied up in the church as a place of behavioral control and modification that we just need to think about that in a healthy way. Yeah. So let's talk about the relational part. The relational part of a healthy church. So I'm going to just propose something and then we'll take it from there. One of the things that Journey does is there's no small group ministry.
Right.
not anymore.
When I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, I was in a small group literally for 22 or 23 years. Same small group.
That's a long time.
Long time. So it was kind of a let's walk through life together group.
Yeah.
I know people have mixed experience with small groups. I've had mixed experience.
Me
Yeah,
too.
me too.
Prior to that.
Yeah. Yep.
But one of the things
if you've been in more than one, you've had a mixed experience.
That's true.
Yep.
I had a horrible experience in the first group we tried to get into from the very first meeting.
Yeah.
I won't even quote it, but it was bad.
It was bad.
It was
bad.
Yes.
So what Journey does, and I'm not holding this out as like the best or only way to do it,
right.
but instead of small groups, we
do the table.
The table,
yeah.
which is very simply, you have a meal at your house and invite people over.
That's right.
That's it. There's no curriculum. There's no
no extra agenda.
There's no talk about this, study questions, follow up on the sermon. There's no prompts. It's just do that.
Yeah.
And I'm asking this with curiosity.
Oh, okay.
What has been the feedback you guys have gotten about that? And in what ways do you think that promotes a relationally healthy church?
Great question.
That is a great question. Well, it's interesting because I think the feedback that I've received has almost always consistently been really positive, where I think sometimes people that are maybe entering into the community and from like a visitor or just kind of checking us out, it's not just as easy as, well, let's connect you with this group. And, so there's definitely, at times I think small groups, in my experience, I felt like it's kind of like just this, well, you all live near each other. So, or you all, like, I think with the table, there's a bit of choice involved in that as well. And and what we see happen is even groups that meet consistently kind of form out of the groups that meet at the table.
Okay.
Right. So maybe an organic version of a small group or a Bible study or something might happen out of those.
Yeah. It's like speed dating a little bit, where, you put people together, random people around a table for a meal, and some connect, some don't.
How do we do that? Because I think the way we do that for people that, we have table hosts. So we have people who have said, hey, we'll open our home up. And there are people that have relationships with them, and they might choose to go to that group or be invited into that. And people who don't know or they're new to the community, will help kind of plug them in to a table.
Yeah.
So everybody's welcome to that.
I think what is the healthiest about it is we are giving opportunity. We're not making people go to, we're not dictating who they meet with. So
we're programming it.
Programming. That's the right
that's
word.
A good word.
So I like to say that we're treating people like adults. Okay, you wanna get to know people in this community. Here's your opportunity.
We'll facilitate it.
We will make it. We will provide this opportunity. But if you want to go beyond that, and you start meeting people that you're like, hey, I could ask them to breakfast, do something different, go to a movie together, do something, or just have them over to your house. Like because everybody gets to know each other a little bit. You got 8 people sitting around a table for a couple hours. You get to know them. And there's connections that are made, and then I think what it does is it doesn't say to them, what we don't do is say, okay, you guys are going to meet together for the next 12 years, your lives, and
which was what I was saying.
Exactly,
and work it out, right? Well, I don't like these people. Well, too bad. That's your group. What we're actually saying is, all right, let's give you, like we've never had the same group at our house.
We haven't either.
We've had some repeat customers. And partly because they live by us, but some of those have connected, some of those have hit and gone off, and then other people go, hey, I hear you're interested in trivia. Why don't let's go do trivia? Okay. Or some people are interested, hey, I understand you're interested in playing cards. Let's play cards.
Yeah.
Some people are cigars and bourbon. So a lot of stuff just kind of naturally happens, which I think is much more healthy than assigning it.
Yeah, I agree. And part of what I think the beauty that I've seen in our community with approaching this way is it actually allows for broader relationship in the sense that it's not the same group that's meeting together all the time. There might be, like you said, some people that return to the same group.
But the group is different.
But it's different every time. And so since we started doing the table, I feel like rather than just, I see a few of these people, I see all these people on Sunday morning, and a few of them I feel like I know. I feel like that relational depth has grown a lot with many more people. So it's gotten the opportunity to know a lot more people in our community.
Well, you've hosted the table, right?
Many
Dave?
times.
Yeah. And you actually did one where you had the same group of people for a period of time. No? Okay.
I don't think so.
I missed that one. Okay.
Yeah, different memo.
Never mind.
My bad. Never mind. Scratch that.
Yeah. One thing that has surprised me, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
In it's a paradox, because I think the criticism that I haven't heard, but that I would imagine, is you're promoting superficial relationships, right? You're doing these like hit and runs, and then people sort of like have a glancing hit on this person and kind of know their face. But what's fascinating to me is if you have a small group model, and I'm not criticizing small group model. Totally. I think it can work. Yeah. I think it also cannot work. But if I'm in a small group with 8 people, then I get to know 7 people, and the rest of the church is largely, not always, but not well known to me.
That's correct.
Right.
And the beauty of the table piece is I'm getting to know these 7 or 8 people, and then another. And then in some cases we follow up.
Right.
In some cases we have lunch and we do. And so then the burden of the relational depth is up to me.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And then, but I also start feeling like I'm much more connected
to a larger group of people,
to this community, rather than to my subset within the community.
Yep.
To me, that's been a really surprising and good thing. And someone who's more of an introvert may not do much follow-up, but it's enough for them where it doesn't feel that exposing, and
they don't have to do it every week, every month.
Well, and I've even seen some of our people who maybe were very introverted, that's opened them up to even, more than maybe they would have ever thought they would be comfortable with.
Right.
So there's been some really cool things like that,
Yeah. So I think that's a really interesting model that I've not seen, because I've never been in a church community where the small group time wasn't programmed.
Right.
It's like, okay, you're going to have a guide to discuss the sermon, or you're going to have a guide to, it's going to be, we're studying this book this month. It really is completely freestyle.
Yep.
It's like meet and build a relationship.
Yep. Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah. I like it too, because I still think it treats adults like adults.
So another thing that strikes me about relational health in a church, and this actually, we did this years ago, I was part of this, is I am always struck by how bad adults are at conversation. Like Ella and I are always like, that person asked me not one question. We asked all the questions and they didn't ask a single thing. Yeah. And this happens like
all the time.
Of the time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You're just surprised. It's like you're an adult and you don't like and so what you realize is some people never really learn that as a skill.
Or the art of conversation.
And so some of it may be teaching like active listening and how to ask good questions, the importance of taking initiative, and equipping people with those kinds of skills, like the initiative and the asking of questions and the active listening parts. Those are skill sets that we assume everyone has, that probably most people don't. I'd say most people don't.
Yeah.
What's your thought about that?
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree. Yeah. That
and you're, by the way, in a role where you're doing the care,
sitting with a lot of people,
and so you're asking the questions a lot. I doubt you're getting a lot back.
Yeah.
So it's a biased kind of, but in your outside of that role life, do you find this to be true too, where people just sometimes, I mean, you're close friends maybe, but other people just, they're not.
Yeah, like you definitely feel like you're leading the conversation usually, or you're driving it, maybe not leading it, but driving the conversation. Yeah.
One of my kids, when we were living in Charlotte, said, "You and Mom are very social, and how do you all do that?" And I said, "How many times out of the times we go out, how many times do you think that someone's asked us to go out?" And I don't know, like probably 10% of the time.
Yeah.
How many times in a conversation do you think you're like, it's like we're taking the initiative,
right?
That. And it helps that we're extroverts, and Ellen's got a big fun personality, and all that stuff. But
is that how you describe that?
That's amazing.
Fun personality.
I'm just asking a question there.
I know.
Just
curious.
Yeah, just curious.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's really funny.
Thoughts about this?
Oh yeah, it's the how many times that we get home, Lori will look at me and they didn't ask us one question.
Right.
They didn't want to know anything about us. And I said, "Honey, I don't think it's that they didn't want to know anything about us. They don't know how to have a conversation.
Right.
They just don't know how to do it."
So
It's hard.
It feels like part of this would be having a relationally healthy church is to equip people with those skills. And we've talked about kind of what underpins a lot of this is curiosity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so having a curious church with curious people who are curious about each other.
Yes.
And how to be curious. Like what is an open question versus a closed question? How do you follow up with good questions? How do you reflect back what you're hearing?
Mm-hmm. Right.
These are not skills that everybody develops.
Yeah. Most people have not developed.
I would say most do not.
Yeah.
And so I think all of us have had the experience of you hang out with somebody and like, I didn't get one thing back from that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not all the time.
No.
But
But that is a fairly common experience where you're kind of having to drive
and it's surprising because you're an adult, you have a family, you're a business person or whatever it is, and like you would think it would translate to that. And
what the assumption is on the when you're on the side of it where nobody asks you a question is that the assumption is that they're not interested in you,
right?
Or they don't care about what's going on in your life or whatever those things. Right. Which is, I would bet 70% not true.
Yeah.
Now it's just that they don't think about it that way. They don't. Now I've talked with people who don't care.
Yeah.
Where you've given them opportunity. They've asked a question, you start answering, and then they jump in and say how it relates to them. Everything's about them. Mm-hmm. That's a different kind of deal. If it's just somebody who's just clueless or
not thoughtful or not really well equipped to do it.
Right.
They don't know how
I think that I experience that oftentimes. Like I don't usually feel like it's people not wanting to be, or they're just, being closed off, or it's just maybe fear or I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Right.
Or
it's all that social anxiety.
Yeah. A lot of the social. Yeah.
They just fill the space. Yeah. Just talk. Just incessantly talk. Yeah. Just fill the space. No quiet.
Not that we do that here.
True.
But I guess it lends itself to that.
It does. We can't have a lot of dead air. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Not a lot of silent reflection.
Yes. All right. Let's contemplate that, guys.
But what I tell a lot of my college student clients is if you learn these skills, you'll be a rock star socially, because the reason why college students drink a lot, as opposed to, they like to drink a lot, but is because they don't have any idea how to have a conversation.
Yeah.
If you listen to a college student's conversation, they're all a lot of closed questions that don't go anywhere. What's your major? What dorm do you live in? Where are you from? All these kinds of they're non-starters.
Yeah.
And if you learn how to ask an open question that kind of taps at what someone else wants to talk about and draw that out and get them, and then follow up with it and curiosity, dude, you're like already in the top quartile of
it's interesting because that's absolutely true with college, but I think it's even true beyond that.
That's what
right?
I'm
Like
so if you don't learn that in college, then you launch into adulthood and you don't
have
know
those skills.
Right. And so you can hang in a conversation with someone who's interested and curious, but it's harder to do that back. Mm-hmm. And so part of what the takeaway would be that a church community that actually equips people to do that.
That's
how
really
to be curious, but in an equipping way.
Yeah.
Not just the mindset of it, like I want to be curious, but how do you do it?
How do you actually?
And it's not actually terribly hard. It's not like these super complex skills.
It's just intentional.
It's intentional in having
practice.
A way of going, okay, here's what an open question is.
Yeah.
Here's how I lead into that.
Right.
Here's how I get out of my way and not make this about is someone jujudging me or evaluating me, but make it about the other person.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's also my way of not having to talk about myself.
Yeah.
I've figured that out too. Because I mean, just an example, I was playing pickleball today. I had the same partner most of the day, and she's from Connecticut, from Texas, from Chicago. She lives here. She's been living here about 9 years. Her husband recently died. So we're having this conversation. Yeah. Just keep asking questions, right?
Yeah.
Never met this person. Just keep asking questions.
Yeah.
And because we were in between games, and she just talked away, and I just let her go.
And her experience of that was, man, that guy's
he's
great
awesome.
person,
what a neat guy.
I hardly said 2 words.
Yeah.
That's, by the way, and I will say that's Ellen's trick. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean trick in a bad way, but she will, if you listen in a conversation, she'll talk 10% of the time.
Yeah, she's
15% of the time.
Yep.
She's getting that other person talking.
Yes.
And then they leave and like, Ellen's great. She's just naturally good at it.
Yeah.
So she's,
yeah.
You know, I'm the one that has to kind of rein back and like, I want to tell this funny story or whatever.
That's me too.
Yeah, right.
I'm that way.
I love doing that, but I also have to be mindful of like,
I can fill too much space. If
I
don't give anybody space.
That's
right. Yeah. I get that.
So last thing I want to throw out there for relational health is, and this is very broad.
Okay.
So, I just
behavior is a tricky one.
Well, not getting to behavior.
Oh,
but the relational part.
Okay.
Yeah, is good active listening, Kevin.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I let you repeat yourself.
Yeah. Is how do you feel like in what you've experienced in the past, positively or negatively, and now are really kind of the keys to having a genuinely welcoming, open environment that when people come in, they feel like this could be home for me? What are some of the components of that in your experience, which both of you have vast experience, I mean this honestly, in church context, good and bad?
Yes, we do.
What are the pieces of that you say that's what makes for a genuine? Because every church claims to be like, they'll put it on their sign up for we're a welcoming church, and then
they're not.
It's harder to do it.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
I'm sure there are people that would say we're not.
Well, a welcoming community.
Yeah.
Well, I know we don't have statements.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
Yeah, we're trying.
And sometimes even something like that can be like when they're trying to figure out exactly, who you are or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Statements in that, like about social issues.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what makes us welcoming is it's contagious. I think we actually like each other.
Yeah.
I think there is a community of people that actually do like it.
Yeah.
It's not just together. That we all agree on something or agree on a doctrine or agree on this is it's I actually think people like each other. They don't agree on stuff, but they like each other. I think that helps.
Well, and that's part of that is it's invitational in that sense. Like
no, go.
Do you have it? Just in the sense that, we've talked a lot about like bounded fuzzy or centered set, about how we do that. And like, we don't have like, okay, here's all the rules. And so that means you're in. It really is, you're invited, and we've all been in different places at time. And so really living out the invitation of.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been on staffs though, where a lot of people don't like each other.
Yeah.
And that communicates.
Yeah.
It's a tolerant environment, not a welcoming environment.
Which is different.
Totally
different.
Yeah, it is different.
There is a genuine sense of among the leadership of this church of we're on the same page, but we genuinely want to go in the same direction, but we don't agree on everything. We don't, and that's okay. And we're vulnerable enough to say it's okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to be right. I think that helps as well for welcoming, but it also for those it's got a dark side to it, and the dark side is not enough certainty for some people.
Sure.
And not enough emphatic stick. Pound your stake in the ground here. We're saying pound your stake in Jesus. They want more than that, and so for some people it's not welcome. That's what I mean by for some people it's just not welcoming, because it's not certain enough. It's not concrete enough. We kind of have a more fluid environment.
Yeah, that's true. I have two thoughts about the things you're saying, and they're good. And one is you're talking about this idea of the dark side of it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it is in this way.
Okay,
I think one of the pieces I feel here, and again, this is not about Journey's this sort of arrived self-actual, this great thing, as much as just using this as our experience here and talking about other people's churches and what this could look like.
Sure,
is it's the first time I think I've had a church experience where the church wasn't focused on we have to be kind of all things to all people,
right,
and we're not poking our finger in anybody's eye.
Nope.
But there's an acknowledgement that this may not be okay.
Your cup of tea.
Right. It might not be.
Yeah.
And not this sort of old church growth mindset of like, we've got to be appealing to this broad, and which ends up being, we're sort of like trying to accommodate this and this and be this sort of very appealing. It's more like
and
this
staff's
is
burned out.
You're right. It's an authentic thing that's like, some of you will like this and other people, it doesn't meet the need.
Right.
Other people have a need for more certainty, more kind of here's
the path.
The statements we're making.
They want fences. They want it to be bounded.
And
yes.
God bless you.
Yeah.
Find
for sure.
that because it's there.
Yeah, for sure.
So I actually think that promotes a certain health about it. In the same way, if you take it from a church to an individual, the more a person is comfortable in their own skin and knows themselves and is good with that, even as they're growing and evolving, then the more sort of healthy that person is, rather than I'm trying to figure out what this person wants and needs.
Well,
and
that's
how this
what you're hitting the nail on the head with something that I'm so thankful for about, because doing music, like us 5 guys were bros. I mean, it's like being in the trenches together. And I feel I've never had another group of people that I work with that I feel that kind of kinship with.
Oh, come on.
I promise. I tell that all the time. It's like that. I don't have to be anything other than just Sam,
right?
And and that's okay.
There's no pretense. There's
I have a role that I play or that I'm hired for here, but beyond that, and even in that, the beauty is it's like that's just I'm hired in the who I am. Even I don't I just get to be me in this role.
That's it.
And I'm so thankful for that.
So then at the macro level with the church, it's like, okay, this is a church that has an identity, is refining that identity, is evolving in that identity, but it's not saying, okay, now we're kind of anxiously trying to make this appealing to all. There's nobody that's getting finger poked in their eye or saying you're not welcome here, but it's saying this is a certain culture and a certain way of being a person of faith. Right. This may be great for you and it may not be.
Right.
The other thing that I'd comment on is that you talked about liking each other, and I would agree with that. I do like the people here, but the part I would add is I think the messaging is important, which is we do not have to be aligned in political view or social view or around this social issue in order to have relationship.
Right.
And I think that actually liberates people to like each other, because I think in our culture, we're not liking each other because we're so polarized.
We're pitted side to side.
And we're conditioned now to be like, I don't like that person because of these things.
Yeah.
And once you kind of strip those away and say, it's okay if someone has a different view of issue X or this doctrinal statement.
Right.
We can still be in a relationship and we can still
accept one another.
Accept and appreciate. And that liberates people to be more able to like each other in ways that are I think harder in our culture.
And also just humans.
Yeah.
Like rather than
we're being humans here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good. We don't have a ton of time to talk about the relational part, which is it feels like
or
behavioral.
I mean the behavioral part, which
yeah.
But I do want to throw it out there before we wrap up, and that is the trick with thinking about a behaviorally healthy church is we don't want to fall back in the old stuff of like the church as dictating of behavior morals and behavioral control.
Here's the moral code.
Right. That's what people have gotten burned by. I had a client earlier this week who was like he calls it religious trauma, but his is all about like being beaten up around all the things he should be doing and not doing and all that stuff. And in a way that just felt just very punitive. So I guess my question is, what does that look like in a church to speak to behavioral health? The practices, the habits, the way of behaving.
Yeah. I like what we've been talking a lot about in our gatherings lately. Just we've been trying to flesh out what it means really. I think we've been trying to flesh out what it means to love one another, love your neighbor. And we've come up with kind of this roundabout way of saying it is that if it's my enemy, if I can do harm to you, I don't. Mm-hmm. So therefore I'm loving my enemy. And if I can do good, I do it for you. And so I think there is that's the behavioral piece that we're looking for, that's internally motivated towards, Jesus loved me. He accepts me. He loves me the way I am. I'm going to pass that to the people around me. And that means I'm not judgmental. I'm not condemning. I do, though. Jesus clearly calls out behavior that's unbecoming, that's damaging, that's hurtful, that's bullying, that kind of thing, where he'll go, that's probably not a good route. But I would say the behavioral aspect of this has a lot to do with how you treat people.
So it's the one anothering.
It is.
That's right. That's good. That's a good way of saying it.
Yes.
The one anothering.
It's the behavior toward others. Whereas historically in evangelical circles, the behavioral part has been, don't go see R-rated movies, and
you better line up with this.
Don't smoke and drink and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Go with girls who do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. Those things. And what you're saying is there's room to say there's certain behaviors that are not healthy and good for you,
right,
or for your community.
Sure.
Right.
So let's just acknowledge that's true.
Yeah.
But really the emphasis is on the one anothering.
Yes.
Thoughts?
Well, I really like how you just framed that up, is the emphasis not being on like just the failure or just the sin or just, but it's we've all, for as long as I've been here, we've talked about this, the Imago Dei, that Christ in us, and the way that we're seen, rather than viewed as like, we're worthless and it's viewed as we're priceless.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It's understanding that we were loved in the condition we were in.
That's right.
Even in all our sin, enough to die for, which is still very puzzling.
Yeah.
But there's a transference of that then when I receive what Christ has offered me, that I then extend to everyone around me.
Yeah.
It's grace, it's mercy.
That's that reflection.
It is. It's and that should shape it, because the simple question is, am I really treating other humans like Jesus treats me? And if we can answer the question, that's behavior. That's the behavior we're looking for. With kindness, with respect, with allowing them their own choices, allowing them to make mistakes, allowing all of that, still loving them, still forgiving them, but also in that saying, hey, I'm, having enough of a conversation with them to say, it's probably not real healthy. You probably don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But allowing them their own agency to say, yeah, I think I'm going to keep doing this. And then at some point you might have to say, well, not here.
Yeah. Or maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But making the emphasis on how we behave toward others and the heart.
Correct.
That's underneath that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Not motivated to manipulate, but motivated just out of the love of Christ.
Good.
Yeah.
So good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Dave.
We've had some.
Yeah, we've delved into healthy. Yeah,
for sure.
So as you're out there looking for a church, some things to keep in mind.
Yeah, not just about like.
Yeah, psychologically healthy church. Yeah,
not just pitching journey, but also saying,
right.
All right, what am I really after in a church, and what's a kind of a way of thinking about what's the grid I could look at a church through.
Right. That's awesome.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dave.
You guys.
Have a good week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Journey on My Mind. If you enjoyed it, please help us spread the word by leaving us a review and sharing it on your social media. Journey on My Mind is a production of Journey Church in Brentwood, Tennessee. Edwin Rivera III is the show's producer, with technical assistance from Randy Hansen. Grant Opperman edits the show. If you have a suggestion for a future topic or a question, you can text us at 615-861-9503. And if you would like to talk to someone about spiritual or mental health issues, you can email our care pastor, Sam Barnhart, at sam@journeytn.com.